It's Michigan week. Here we go. Cut the Chase Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Chase Yantz. Got Brady King with me. Matt's not in studio, but Brady, what's going on with you?
Man, not much. I'm in a we're in the biggest week of the year for Ohio State football, man. I'm nervous and excited at the same time. Really anticipating this game. It's there's not much else to say other than, greatest rivalry in sports. 2 versus 3 undefeated matchup means everything for the college football season. It's gonna be the most viewed game in college football, obviously, this year, like always. And, this is huge. I mean, I don't remember a time where it's been a while where I've said both teams could win the national championship. And I think definitely both of these teams have that ability to win the national championship in this year. So this is a huge game, obviously. Super excited and excited to, get rolling with this episode and, really break down this game. Because this is what we're talking about. I mean, we're not really getting into any other games because none of that matters if you can't win the game. So that's all I have to say.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it, man. We're literally recording this on Thanksgiving night. All right, we've obviously eaten a bunch of food all day, watched a lot of pro football. There's been two really good games right now, and another one that's about to come on. But I mean, we got to take time out of the week to obviously talk about the biggest game of the week. I mean, the biggest game of the year, obviously in our state, in the Midwest, and whatever you want to call it. But I mean, it's 11-0 versus 11-0, 3 versus 2. We've seen tons of top 10 matchups, especially recently with these two teams over the last 10 years. But this is the first time in, over in a decade or so that Ohio State's looking for revenge on these guys.
Yep.
Like, they're going to come out and they're going to come, the Michigan's going to come to the shoe. They're going to play in the team up north, as I should refer to them. They're going to come up to, they're going to go down to the shoe. They're going to play us. It's going to be a very hostile environment that you will be a part of, as well as Matt.
Yep.
How excited are you right now?
Extremely excited. Again, this is going to be a nuts atmosphere. It's going to be the biggest event going on in our state. Obviously, not even close. So it's going to be electric. It's the game of the year. I'm pumped, and also like I said, very nervous. I've never felt this way about coming into the game because haven't felt a win in this game in a long time. Like, in a way, I'm starting to forget how it feels since they decided to cancel on us in 2020. Haven't gotten a win since my freshman year, and I'm about to graduate high school. So really need this one. It's huge. I mean, this is the biggest game I've been alive for between the two, and there's been some good ones like 2016 and 28. Or not that I've been alive for, but then I've watched it because in 2006 I was 1. So biggest game that I've watched of Ohio State, Michigan, for sure.
Yeah, but it seems like every game, the storyline gets bigger and bigger as it goes. I mean, obviously, like 2016 was, it was a ridiculous game. Obviously, went to overtime and all that. 2018 had a lot riding on it as well. It seems like a lot of the games that are played in the shoe have just been the
Huge.
Intensity level has just gone up on pegs on pegs and all that. So it's been crazy.
And even last year, obviously, it's hard to. I start forgetting how big that game was since we didn't win it. Yeah. But even that game, that was for the Big Ten championship appearance, and it didn't going into the game. It really didn't feel that big. It was weird. Obviously, it was Ohio State Michigan week, and I was really excited, but it didn't feel like the clash of titans where the winner takes all and the rest goes home. It was like, all right, we're gonna sneak this one out and get out of Ann Arbor with a W, and then play for the Big Ten championship and prepare to face Georgia and try to beat them. And that's not what happened. We got caught sleeping, and we all know what happened. And it's been a different environment from the Michigan fans ever since. And there's a lot of talking. They don't stop talking about November 27th, 2021. They bring up a lot of stuff about that game. That was their greatest day ever. I mean, that was every Michigan fan's favorite win they've ever had. And after that game, Michigan's program kind of shifted in the way their arrogance was, because they always have had arrogance, thinking each year this is our year, but now they think Ohio State has to upset them in a way. It's kind of the Michigan fans' thoughts is we need Corum because then we're not the better team without Corum, but acting as if with Corum, they're acting like we didn't lose the best, arguably a top player in college football, Jackson Smith and Jigba. I mean, they're acting like we don't have more injuries than them. Both of our top running backs are very injured. So this is a game where everything's on the line. I mean, that can't be stressed enough. It's huge.
I mean, it's literally, like honestly, I think either team could give, they could really give tons of shits about who's in the game and who's not in the game. It's
Yeah.
all about who shows up on the field
Right.
Saturday at noon on Fox and who comes out of there with a win. That's the
Yep.
only thing.
Because
I
there'll be a
mean,
different level of adrenaline.
yeah, exactly. Like this game is for everything. This is literally for a Big Ten championship berth and a playoff spot on the line.
Yep.
This everything that you could ask for is literally laid out here, decked out on the line. But like I remember you mentioned Quorum just a couple minutes ago. I mean, the status on him is up in the air. We don't really know what's going to happen with him. A lot of people are saying that he, is going to try to play and everything. That's going to be a tough injury to play on if it's a meniscus injury. I mean, I personally know how meniscus feels. Overall, it is a rough thing, but to come back and play in that same week and you're playing football with that in the biggest game, and you got guys like from Ohio State that, they know there's an injury. So, we're gonna try to exploit that. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's gonna be tough for Blake Corum to even play like that. But Ohio State, on the other hand, has some running back. I'm not gonna say issues, but has movement on there. Travion Henderson, we don't know what's going on with him. Obviously, was hurt, but at the same time, he took a a sidestep on the sideline last week for Dallin Hayden, who looks as though he's going to be the starter
Yep.
this week. Mayan Williams, he's not healthy, but looks as though he'll dress and that he'll be able to play somewhat. But it's coming down to depth at the running back positions for both teams. And what do you see happening in the if both teams can prevail from it?
I mean, honestly, I hope both teams can get their guys healthy. I hope that all those guys play. I hope Trey plays. I hope Mayan plays, with Mayan getting the bulk of the carries. I want to make that clear. I hope they're close to full strength. I hope Blake Corum plays. I don't want any type of excuse to come out. I want to face their best. Like, I just want this to be a healthy game because I want both teams to be at full strength, and I want this clash of titans to come out, and I want it to happen, and may the best man win type of thing. And honestly, though, I think there's even more on the line in this game than just a playoff appearance and a win over Michigan. I think this could change either program. Like, if Michigan wins this game, Ohio State's program might take a step back. I mean,
I want to ask you this really quick. I didn't mean to cut you off there.
No, go ahead.
But you look at it like the game, all right? The game,
Yeah.
as they say. I mean, it's, obviously arguably the biggest rivalry in all of sports.
Yeah.
Okay. So Ohio State hasn't won a natty in 8 years. That could
Yep.
change this year. Michigan hasn't won a natty in over 25 years. That could change this year.
Yep.
But do you think that winning the game has somewhat become more important? Not more important, but it's kind of overshadowed the fact of winning natties and all that stuff. Like, I mean, think about it. Like, it's really been the game and all that stuff, but teams haven't been able to have success and win a natty in a very long time. Talk about 8 years is a long time. All right. Especially
Yeah.
for programs like this. But I mean, it seems as though the game gets so blown up. And obviously, it's a very big game. It's literally got its own title. But like, do you see like when you're playing in that game, like there's kind of a drop off after that. There's so much animosity built up. There's so much adrenaline rush for that game that it's honestly like kind of spent too much in that. And then once that's over, it just kind of seems as though that some teams just, both these teams like haven't made a good job done after that.
I mean, I think that I see some part of truth to that, but I also think I don't think that much with us because most of these past years is we've expected to win. So I feel like some of these games, like 2019, like we had total focus on trying to win a title.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. There's years where like like 2019 you said, like there's years where like the focus has been like, okay, we're gonna win this game and all that. But yeah.
And we've still been in position. Like, it's not like we took like a, because I believe it's not like we took that gap from 2015, which was, I believe, like January. I think we won on January 11th. So that is a decent break of a national title. But I don't think it's really that we've like dropped off. It's that we just haven't been able to finish, which is a lot to do with the Alabamas of the world and things like that. I just think I think this game is meant to be hyped up because both teams a lot of these years have been in the position to where they mostly Ohio State, let's be honest. Like Michigan's had a couple teams where they've had the chance to win the Natty, but I think the hype is rightfully so, and I think that this game is more important than a Natty in my opinion because like a Natty is the thing. Like you've got to win this game before you can even really think about a Natty. So I think all the focus has to be on winning this game, and then after the game, like obviously 2020 that game didn't happen, but like we still had our sights set up. The national championship was our biggest goal that year. It's just that Bama just was one of the best teams ever statistically that year. So that just didn't happen. And, I can definitely see that, though, to where you could overlook the rest of your schedule after this game. But I don't think that'll happen with Ryan Day. Or I think he's focused on both for sure, especially if we win. I think that page will be flipped really quickly to, okay, we beat Michigan, check mark, on to the Big Ten championship goal. That's our second goal, check mark. And then our third goal is ultimately to win the title. So hopefully we can, hopefully we can win another one this year. But hope in my opinion, for me personally, I wouldn't be too upset if we didn't win as long as we beat Michigan, just because we lost last year.
Oh yeah, I get what you're saying from that, and it's like 2014, like that's kind of how the mantra went. It was you beat Michigan, you won the Big Ten, and you won the Natty. You won your playoff game and you won the Natty. You took down Bama and won the Natty after that.
And then the Heisman winner in the championship.
Yeah, so you did all that. But like you mentioned, like would you like obviously from last year, like getting revenge on them is big, okay?
Yeah.
But like putting that as the forefront over winning a national championship, like when you say that out loud, like do you think that sounds kind of silly thinking about it? Like that I'm not just, it's not like silly, but I'm saying like that's kind of an interesting way to think of it, You'd rather beat your rival and then you have a really legitimate shot at winning a national championship this year. But if you look back on this season, would you be like, this season, like, it was not really a success because we didn't win the national championship? Or would you look at it being like it was a success because we got revenge on our rival?
I think it'd be success if we beat Michigan just due to the fact that we didn't beat them last year. But if we had beaten them last year with C.J. Stroud's junior year, I'd really want a championship. But they're just so hard to come by that, we're a premier program, but there's 130 FBS teams. And I just don't want to get too, like, overly mad if we don't win a title. But obviously, I want a title pretty bad. But yeah, it makes sense. Like obviously, like winning, but the reason it's like the forefront goal is because it's just before winning a championship. Like so that's
true. Yeah.
And Michigan, like this is the greatest rivalry in sports. And Michigan, this game is almost a level of like a playoff game or a national title game, especially this year in particular. It's just that big of a rivalry. If you don't win this game, your season is terrible. I mean, that's like it's really the defining game of the season. Like last year. Least favorite game since I've been a Buckeye. Least favorite season since I've been a Buckeye fan, and not because it was our worst team. It definitely wasn't, in my opinion.
Yeah,
we didn't get the job done in that game, and that's just huge. I mean, it changes. It can change your program because you're recruiting the same type of kids, and if we lose this game, everyone will call for Ryan Day's head for losing to Michigan twice in a row.
For being losing record against Michigan too.
Yeah, exactly, and also recruits might start to sway towards Michigan, like, oh, they actually did it again. Like, what's going on? Like, maybe they actually are going to, they are on their level or even above, and then boom, then our program kind of turns into the second Big Ten team, and then you're just screwed. So, I mean, the absolute first goal right now has to be to beat that team up north. But then if we can get it done Saturday, I mean, the script is flipped, and now we're thinking about Georgia, TCU. USC, whoever it may be in the playoffs, all those guys.
That's true. Yeah. I mean, obviously, I think me and you have kind of different approaches when we think about it, and I completely agree, and like I can't like disagree with that approach and everything when it comes to like Michigan. It is the game. You have to win this game for not just to get to the national championship, but also to have these commits not sway over to their side.
Yeah.
And kind of like, you got to keep your foot on the gas and kind of you're the top dog still, stuff like that. So there's a lot more riding into it instead of just W's and L's. So,
Yeah.
and I think I look at it from, I'm more of a pro guy than I'm a college guy. Okay. And I kind of look at it in a different perspective of like, all right, like you can afford in the NFL, you can afford to lose 6, 7 games to go to Super Bowl. Look at my Bengals last year. In this, I mean, you can't lose this game. You can't lose your last game of the season and expect going to the playoffs against your rival. So and I'm not saying like I'm not trying to be like, oh, like you're basically saying that Michigan is more important than a natty. It's just like I get the whole balance of what you're trying to say.
I completely hear you. But yeah, it's a completely different goal is really my thing. Like you have to, you can't even like it's obviously a natty sounds great, but you're not even getting there if you don't beat Michigan. So it's kind of like you can't really put one in front of the other when they kind of go together in a way. So that's why I just like, yeah, definitely. I mean, I want to win the national championship more than anything this year. So, I mean, but this game, man, like it's standing. Like if we can win this game, think about the experience that this team gets against a national championship caliber team. Michigan's the only team in the country that's a top 5 pass and top 5 rush defense. So if we can get that, experience to play a team like that, and they're a top 5 scoring offense as well, if we can like get that experience and get out with a win, that pushes out, and that gives us a lot of help to potentially win a national championship. So yeah, but like it's hard, but you just can't look ahead. Yep. You've got to focus all on this game because like you can't look past a team like this right now. So I hope we win both. That's all I can say. Hope we win both.
Yep. You heard our thoughts on just the whole storylines and everything, breaking it down and all that. So we have tail of the tape up next. Brady kind of took some time to look at the position groups and go through a unique process to kind of piece things together. And then after that, we will look at the numbers and break it down and really dive into this game and all. So Brady, take it away.
All right. So what I did here, so we're going to go position by position, who has the edge. And then we'll do like a point system to who wins this battle of who is really the better team on paper. So I did each position group by 2 gaps. So the winner, like let's say a quarterback, the winner can either win it by 1 or 2 instead of just like who's better at each position.
Okay.
Because it's not fair to just do that because what if one team is way better at a position? You deserve an extra point, in my opinion. So what I did is I'm doing 2 points basically, or 2 gaps to the team if they have that much. But if they're just like, a normal amount better or like barely better, they're only getting that by like, 1. And there could be ties, but I'll just say now there's 0 ties that I have on this.
Right.
So we'll get started. I didn't do special teams because I don't think it's too fair to include that. Special teams are important, but not to the level of like adding them in with these, position groups. So I'm going to start off here with quarterback. Obviously Ohio State is going to get this one by two gaps. So there's 2 points for Ohio State. It's not even close. Obviously CJ Stroud is light years ahead of JJ McCarthy, and they're just a completely different player. You got one that's still trying to find his rhythm as a starting quarterback and develop as a passer, and then you got another one that's going to be a 2-year Heisman finalist, projected top 3 pick, all that stuff. This one's not a competition. Ohio State's getting that one. CJ Stroud is tied for first for passing touchdowns with 35 on the year. JJ McCarthy has, I believe, 14 touchdowns through the air, and he's been under 50% completion, I believe, the past 3 weeks, because Michigan's been struggling downfield to throw. But I do think they have the ability to do it, and I'm just going to be really mad if they just start doing it against us and it actually works, because that would just be annoying to see that.
It really would be. Mm-hmm.
I've just had that feeling. I'm like, they're going to start completing deep passes, aren't they? Was my first thought, like whenever I see them miss one. But anyways, Ohio State gets that by 2. Now we go to running back. And this is one where both have great backs. I'm gonna act as if they're healthy in this game because I can't predict which running backs are all out because it seems like they all might play. Just who knows who's healthy. So I'm just going to do this as if, I'll rank them normally. I'm giving this one to Michigan by 1 gap. It's close with Mayan Williams being a great player. Travion Henderson, healthy, was a great player at least last year, but this year he's lost a step. Dallin Hayden's definitely the better number 3 to CJ Stokes, but Blake Corum's been the workhorse for Michigan. He has a potential to go to New York if they win this game. And then Donovan Edwards is a good number 2 as well. And Michigan's, is a running football team, and that's what they love to do behind Blake Corum. So I definitely had to give them the 1 gap advantage on this one. So that's 2-1 Ohio State right now. You move on to receiver core. This one's another obvious one. QB and receiver are probably the 2 most obvious ones. No Ohio State's advantage. This one's a 2-gapper, so it's 4-1 now. Because you're looking at this.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah. So you're looking at this. You've got Marvin Harrison Jr. versus Ronnie Bell as wide receiver 1. I mean, it's not even close. That one's –
there's levels to this shit, as Meek Mill said.
Exactly. So that's not even like – you got a guy that's a 5th-year senior that I don't know if he's even going to get drafted. Maybe late. I don't know. No idea. Versus a – generational prospect, whatever you want to call it, for, next year, who still is coming back, thankfully. Wide receiver 2, you got Roman Wilson from Michigan, a little speedy slot kind of guy, versus Emeka Egbuka. He's playing slot for us as well. This one's definitely Emeka's favor as well. He's almost to 1,000 receiving yards on the year. He'll certainly get there. In my opinion, he's at like 914 and I believe 8 touchdowns. And then he also has 2 rushing touchdowns, so 10 total touchdowns for him. Definitely better than Roman Wilson, although I do not mind. I actually do think Roman Wilson has the most potential out of Michigan's receiving core as like a big play threat and all that. So not a bad player. Same with Ronnie. Both are solid, nothing special. And then a wide receiver 3, you've got Cornelius Johnson versus Julian Fleming. This one's not actually – this one's kind of close in a way, which is sad to say because Julian should be a lot better than Cornelius Johnson. I'm still giving it to Julian with his ability. He's a bigger dude. He's probably a little bit faster. He also does have more touchdowns, even though he's had to share the love with Marvin and Emeka and all them. But, that's just why Ohio State gets that nod at the receiver position by 2. So it's 4-1. O-line, again, 2 of the best O-lines in the country. I am giving Michigan this one by 1 gap because I do. If I had to rank the best O-line in the country, it would be the Wolverines, in my opinion. All 5 of their dudes there's no holes in their O-line. Very physical O-line, as we saw last year. Almost all of them are back. And the one O-lineman they lost from last year, they replaced with a better player, transfer Oluwatimi from Virginia. Definitely I had to give them the 1 gap advantage, even though the best O-lineman out of the group is Paris Johnson Jr. from Ohio State. So, close one. 4-2 now, I believe, would be the score. Then you go over to tight end. This one's close, in my opinion. You got Luke Schoonmaker, and I believe Colston Loveland is their other tight end versus Cade Stover and G. Scott Jr. This one's close, but we involve our tight end less, and Cade has better stats, slightly. So I'm actually going to go Ohio State by 1 gap. This one's close.
I think Stover may present a matchup issue against Michigan. I really do.
I think he might too because the smaller guy. I agree. Actually, one of my teachers was actually saying that as well.
Interesting.
Mr. Costello, I believe you had him.
Yep, definitely did.
Yeah. He actually thinks that too, and that brought up a good point. I was like, "Yep, I agree with that for sure." With Michigan's smaller DBs and all that, so Stover.
I just wonder if they're gonna, really try to utilize Stover like that, instead of getting all the receivers will obviously get their touches, but I mean,
Stover will go for 250 and 4 TDs this game.
That would be something.
It would. So what is that? 5-2, I believe. As
5-2. 5-2. Yep. 5-2.
So we move on to the defensive side of the ball, and we go at cornerback. And this one was maybe the one I went most back and forth with. You got Denzel Burke and Cameron Brown. Burke starting the season awful, but then since then he's been almost – it's hard to believe. He's actually been almost flawless, hasn't really given up much at all, which I expected this to be a rough year, but, he's bounced back. And then Cam Brown, I think, is our best corner. versus their corners, which are DJ Turner. He's a quick little, he's not very tall, but he's very shifty. He's a good player. And then their other corner is either going to be Will Johnson or Jeeman Green. Will Johnson's the 5-star freshman. He's 6'3". Based off of – I went with Michigan here actually by one gap. This one was close. In terms of just pure talent level, I think we have the better group. But in terms of this year's play, I'm giving it to Michigan by a little bit because I feel like they've let up a little bit less big plays through the air. So, I'm going to give that to Michigan. So 5-3. Now we go into safety. This one's definitely Ohio State. I gave it as a one gapper. It's close to being a 2 with Ronnie Hickman and Lathan Ransom being the 2 of the best safeties in college football this year. But Michigan also has a pretty solid safety core with Rod Moore from Northmont, actually, not too far down the road, down in Clayton, Ohio. RJ Moten, their free safety, he's a solid player. And then Mike Sandersill has been a good nickel corner / safety for them. He was a wide receiver last year, actually. So, one gap for Ohio State there. Then we move on to linebacker. And never in a million years, never before the season did I think that I would be saying Ohio State wins this one. I'm giving it as a one-gap win. I almost did another 2. It's just hard to do that because Michigan also has a good linebacking core with Junior Colson and there's his name. I forget the guy's name. It's hard to say out, but Hill, number 41 for Michigan. That's all I'm going to say. Those 2 are pretty good players for Michigan. But Ohio State gets that one for sure with Tommy Eichenberg. I mean, he's a top whatever linebacker you want to say in college football. He's an All-American level player, which is hilarious. I mean, absolutely hilarious.
It really is. So compared to last year and then the strides he's made for this season, I mean, it's hilarious, but it's also awesome for us.
It's awesome, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm so happy he didn't leave because I probably told him to enter the transfer portal through the TV or whatever a couple times.
Definitely would have heard you on that one.
Yeah, that one would have been tough if he actually did that. And then D-line. It's where it gets tough. This one's another tough one because there's a lot of tough position battles between these 2 teams, being the 2 best teams in the Big Ten. D-line. You've got Ohio State. You got JT Tuimoloau, Michael Hall, Tyleik Williams, and then Jack Sawyer, Zach Harrison, and then, a couple other defensive tackles sprinkled in, such as Teron Vincent.
I think Matt's getting a Mike Hall jersey for Christmas.
He is. He's been saying that, especially after
he's been telling us off camera a lot. So
he has been. So, and I guess I'll say this now. I'm hopefully getting a Marvin Harrison Jr. jersey for Christmas.
Thank you for the NIL deals coming out and stuff like that, so we can finally get names on the back of the jersey.
It was so stupid that they wouldn't let us do that.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm happy about this for sure that we can get those. I took advantage of that last year. But anyways, Michigan's D-line, you've got Iyabi Oki, 58, goddamn. Maisie. It is an interesting name. He was the number 1 player in the country out of high school in 2019. Went to Alabama, got kicked off the team, went to Houston Baptist, got kicked off the team, went to Tennessee Martin, entered the transfer portal, and then ended up at Michigan this year. And he's having a pretty good year at DN. So very talented player that just had some issues.
Wow.
Yeah,
he just worked his way up north, tell you that.
He did certainly work his way up north. And then Mozzie Smith, he's probably the best defensive tackle in the Big Ten. I would say Michael Hall had an argument, but he's just been injured this year a good bit, so Mozzie Smith will get that honor for me. Mason Graham, he's probably one of the best true freshman D linemen in the country. And then Mike Morris, he's been a stud D end for Michigan this year, very productive D end. And this one I went back and forth on. And my conclusion was this. Ohio State has more talent on the D-line, but I'm giving it to Michigan because theirs is older. They have an older group, a lot of pretty much all seniors except for Mason Graham. And it was so close. I mean, just the numbers were slightly better there on Michigan. But, I mean, we have 3 5-star defensive ends and then a 5-star defensive tackle and another guy who's almost a 5-star. That's our rotation. They're almost all 5-stars. They're great players. It's just I gave a slight one-gapper to Michigan, which comes out to the final score of Ohio State 7, Michigan 4. So Ohio State wins it. And I mean, I try to be as unbiased as possible. I gave some close calls to Michigan there. They just did not get any two-gap wins because, let's face it, like you can't really give them. The only one I could argue they could argue as a two-gap, in my opinion, would be probably O-line. And I just couldn't do that when our two tackles haven't given up a sack. And I really would blame – the only times we can't run the ball this year is when Travion's being stupid. I'm just going to be straight up, is when he's not hitting the hole. So that's all I'm going to say about that. I think this is a very close matchup, and I could see either team winning. But go Buckeyes.
Yep, there you go. I mean, you look at obviously tail of the tape. Brady broke it down really well, given the, great in-depth looks at all the players and the positions and everything, especially the depth perception of all these positional groups. When you look at the team stats and the comparisons, Ohio State's been averaging 46 a game on offense, 492 yards a game. Pretty balanced, I would say, averaging about 289 through the air and about 203 on the ground.
Yep.
Michigan, they're averaging about 452 on total this season on offense, and they're more run heavy compared to the past. 243.8 per game rushing the football and 208 yards a game throwing, scoring 39 points a game, and both teams are giving up sub 20 points per game right here. So, I mean, they're both holding their opponents pretty well, both putting up a lot of points, and the defenses. We'll tell you that Ohio State, compared to last season, I mean, Jim Knowles has made the huge turnaround. Different look on defense. They've played a lot more aggressive and all. Done a really good job with that. They're holding teams less than 200 yards passing and just a little over 100 yards on the ground overall. And then Michigan, I mean, they had a great defense last year, and their numbers almost look a bit better. I mean, 161 passing yards a game, and they're only giving up 79.5 yards a game on the ground. That is insane at any level. Only giving up less than 90 yards a game rushing. I mean, they are suffocating teams in that. Obviously, Ohio State lost last year, but they won a good, 8 or so before that. Obviously, the 2020 season, you would okay. Let's be real. You would count that as a dub, but at the same time, Michigan fans really count it as a dub because we Ohio State hasn't beaten us in over 1,000 days and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And once that day hit, I mean, everybody's like, it's been 1,001 days since they beat. They're really milking this one out and everything. So they got it. They want to keep it as long as they can. They're just trying to get everything out of it because I think partially they know that it's going to come to an end on Saturday. And that's when we'll get right into our picks. I mean,
I firmly believe we would have ended their program in 2020. Harbaugh would have actually been fired, in my opinion, if they actually got to see that pathetic showing that they would have put out in Columbus. I mean, that would have been unreal. We would have won by 50. We would have been favored by 30 in that game.
Some people would have had some really miserable Christmases. I mean, knowing that the game was going to be December the 12th, not too far from the great holiday and everything. And some Michigan fans would have not come out to the new year until Harbaugh was fired. Harbaugh was not fired. That actually spared him. It actually gave him new life. They ended up winning a game. Stuff like that.
It really did spare them a lot. It spared them players staying, not entering the portal. I mean, there's no way Aiden Hutchinson returns if they get bludgeoned by Ohio State, and because then you lose all hope of there being a win, because that's really one of the reasons he returned. Also with JJ, does JJ stay committed? I mean, not saying that JJ is anything crazy. Does JJ McCarthy stay committed to Michigan?
That's the wonders of it, man. You never know. I mean,
you just never know.
Look at the history between these two teams. I mean, the first time I think I ever watched the Ohio State-Michigan game, I was 3 years old in 2006. I think the first one I ever watched was in 2008. Obviously, all I knew was Ohio State beating Michigan. That's the only thing I've known other than 2011 when Michigan got our number up in the big house. 2012, Urban's first year, 26-21 victory over the Wolverines. We go 12-0. We're not ranked because of the NCAA violations and the vacated wins back in 2010 and everything. And, Ohio State would have played Notre Dame in the national championship. It would have been a battle of the fives and Everett Golson and Braxton Miller. It would have been an interesting matchup. But, I mean, that game overall between Michigan and Ohio State, classic matchup in 12. 13 got even better, 43-42. And you guys remember, I can't remember the guy's name, but I mean, getting ejected, walking out of the stadium, giving the
Marcus
people of
Hall.
the Marcus Hall, giving the people of the maize and blue the double bird as he
Yep.
makes his cinematic exit out of the stadium. As obviously chaos was in the air, but even more came later on.
I was at my grandma's house watching that game, and I
Mm-hmm.
was with my uncle, and I remember he just started dying laughing. He loved it.
It was so unexpected when that happened. I mean, it
It
was,
was.
it obviously the tension was high, and I think it took it through the roof, honestly. And you go
Yep.
to the final play of the game, Michigan going for 2, and Ohio State makes a huge play on the football, and ends up winning the game. And Urban Meyer goes 24-0, not losing the game until the following week.
Right.
And then 2014, you have the JT Barrett game where JT Barrett ends up getting hurt. Ohio State wins pretty handily, but Ohio State's like, we had Braxton Miller get hurt in the offseason. Now JT Barrett, who's led us to this point, is hurt.
Yep.
Now we have to turn to a third-string quarterback in Cardale Jones. But Cardale wins us a national championship. We were talking about earlier when it comes to checking off all the boxes. That was the last time Ohio State checked off all of the boxes in a season. And hopefully we can look at it in, duplicating that in 2022. 15, Ohio State, they came off the Michigan State loss, and they got the job done. I mean, there wasn't much to it. They went up to Ann Arbor and did their thing. 16, so that was the biggest game, since 2006. When it came to at the time, it was the biggest game since 2006. You were at that game, I believe.
I was.
Was JT over the line?
Yes, there's evidence. There's picture evidence.
I just wanted to ask somebody at the actual game.
Yeah, and at first you couldn't really tell because it's tough to see. We don't have the yellow. I mean, we got the 15-yard line. This is a funny story. So some Michigan fan, they said the yellow line is off. Guess where the yellow line was? And this is overtime. The 15. Guess where the 15 is when it's overtime when you start at 25? The first down.
Yep.
10 yards.
Yep.
And the ball, there's pictures of him like this. The ball's in his right hand, first down. And it's clear as day. They can argue all they want that they were the better team or whatever. If they want to say that, you can, sure, go ahead and make your argument. I mean, I don't care. We won the game. But you can't say that JT was short because he wasn't. I mean, you've probably seen the picture before.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen it before. I mean, there's just, it's amazing when you look at sports media. I mean, there's you see it on TV once and you see a couple different camera angles, but the amount of media that's actually there that get pictures from absolutely every and any angle that you could ask for is unbelievable nowadays. Yep. I mean, there are hundreds of cameras along the sideline, even that half of the field. In the end zone, and the other, it's unbelievable, and the amount of cameras that a TV crew like ESPN would have. And I think that was the last time that ESPN and ABC covered that game, if I'm not mistaken.
It was because Gus and Joel took over in 2017, I believe.
Yep, and they took over, and they have not looked back since. But I mean, in there, 2017, Ohio State, they didn't make the playoff in 17. They made it in 16. They didn't play in the Big Ten championship and all that stuff. Didn't get to the result we wanted in 2016 in the playoff. 17 didn't make the playoff. We beat Michigan though. Was able to get the job done overall. 18, another big game. Had a shot at making the playoff. Michigan was really good that year, but obviously Chris Olave had his coming out party in the game. As a big time playmaker and everything. Dwayne Haskins, God rest his soul, had a fantastic game overall. I mean, we just torched them. 2019, you were again at that game. Ohio State took care of business. One of the best teams that never won a natty in our history, especially recent history right there. So many stars in that game. I mean, it was insane. 2020, the game that never happened, the win that never happened, as they claim. I mean, that was the last time Ohio State beat Michigan was over 1,000 days ago. The game you were at, ironically, you're going to be at this one Saturday. You were at the one last year when we lost, unfortunately. Time to get your revenge, Brady. What's the score going to be Saturday? What all do you see happening when you're in Columbus, Ohio, in the 614?
I can just picture it. Clock hit 0. Fans storm the field. We did it. We've got our revenge. It's over. I don't have to hear about 42-27. Maybe I do, but I really don't care if they say anything about it anymore because it doesn't matter. If we win this game, who cares what happened in 2021?
Recency bias takes over in every facet of life.
Exactly. And especially the fact that especially the fact that before that 42-27, like we have all the other wins, so it's like, all right, nice job, you guys hit us a year. But guess what? That's game. You got another 365 till you can do it again. Yep. Marvin Harrison Jr. is back. Mecca Buka's back. Kyle McCord era, whoever it is. Let's do it again. Let's beat him again. Final score. We're going to beat the Michigan Wolverines. It's going to be sweet, sweet revenge. 43-27. Ohio State Buckeyes. Want to know why I'm predicting that score?
Why?
To one up their 42-27 from last year.
I would have thought it would be for other reasons, but I really like the reason.
It's for multiple reasons, but that's the main.
I really like the reason.
That's one of the reasons right there. Mm-hmm. Yeah, doesn't that make sense? Like just the one.
It really does. That would just be the cherry on top of the cherry on top of everything else.
Right. It definitely would be.
Yeah. It really would be. I'm gonna obviously, VO. I got to agree with you on this one. Ohio State's gonna get the job done. I think it's gonna be a little closer. Obviously, Ohio State. When you go out on that field and you're playing for revenge, you would think Ohio State needs to come out there and kick the shit out of Michigan. All right.
Yeah.
But the last time Ohio State played in a revenge game against the Wolverines, it was a 5-point victory. Do I think it's going to be a 16-point victory? No. Do I think it'll be a 5-point victory? No. I think it'll be a gap in between. I think Ohio State's going to end up winning this game, score of 44-34. I think Michigan's actually going to put some points up. I think it'll be more. I think it'll be more kind of late, but I think Ohio State's obviously going to do enough to win the game. I think they'll have a sustainable lead, but Michigan will, get a touchdown here later on in the game. It'll make it look a little closer than what it is. But I think Ohio State is really going to dominate throwing the football. And I think a guy like Dallin Hayden, I think especially down the stretch, or Mayan Williams, if he's feeling it in certain situations, I think that's where we're going to end up closing this game out and, really extending it and having everyone storm on the field.
Oh, yeah.
50-degree day.
I would love those. Either of those Friday,
Thanksgiving. I mean, it's when it's Thanksgiving, you're full. Black Friday's the next day. You're running around burning calories shopping. Actually, you're sitting on your ass trying to find things online for shopping nowadays with technology. And then on Saturday, man, it's the game. That's it. I mean, you put all your energy into it and come out with a dub after a great weekend, and then kick back on a Sunday and watch whatever the hell game you want to watch. Cool. But Saturday, that's the day. I mean, it has its own name to it, but man,
wait to see if actually we'll know tomorrow. The Big Ten West will be decided. If Iowa can beat Nebraska, that will be the Big Ten West championship or Big Ten West champion. All I have to say is 54-10. So bring it on.
I mean, people obviously see what goes on in this game, and we'll end up punching. One team will end up punching their ticket, and others are going to end up buying their tickets to this game in Indianapolis Saturday, December 3rd at 8:15 p.m.
I might have to be one of those people. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, we'll see what the result is, and I might have to join you on that one. But man, with this being the end, I mean, this has been a great college football regular season. We still have a lot more coverage going on once 100%. We hit postseason ball, which is next week. Matt's going to be back on. And we may have a special guest, so stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for potential stuff going on in the conference championship shows and Bowl Mania. So
definitely stay tuned for that.
Definitely. And for the people that, we've obviously talked a lot of college football. For the people that want some more NFL content's coming more on your way. You'll see more playoff push segments coming here in December. As let me tell you, the NFL, it is heating up right now. But man, this is going to be a fantastic Saturday. For that being said, you got Brady King over there. I just pointed the wrong way again. Fuck. That's Brady King over there. I'm Chase Johns, and hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend. Happy Thanksgiving. Blessings to your family and everyone else.